I feel great. I had some time out by the pool today doing a little meditating and actually creating a little bit of a program for you guys. Huh? This is what I do. I have this book that I've had for a very long time, The Next Big Thing. And this book, I have taken it on quite a few camping trips. And this book actually, if you look through it, it's got the very beginnings of my book. Like I wrote in here the, I think the game board and the timeline. I created my own timeline in here. Pretty interesting. Curious, how many of you on here have created a timeline? Have you ever looked at your own timeline in life? And how was that for you? Curious question. So before I get into all the stuff I would like to discuss tonight, all the interesting topics that I think are going to be very interesting tonight, I want to say that we have two big announcements. We have events that are coming up. The first one is a brand new workshop that Nick and I are doing. Spirit came through and said, here's something you should do. So I talked to Nick about it and I'm really excited. It's brand new. And we are, you know, Nick and I are both hypnotherapists, and we have all of these things that we do with our clients with hypnosis, and they're really powerful. I mean, people really change their lives. And to be fair, Nick does more hypnosis than I do, so it'll be fun for me to be in it with him as well, because we'll both be doing hypnosis with our clients, and I'll probably pick up some extra tricks of the trade. Hello there, Carmen Mormino and Mary Lee in the house. So this workshop that we have coming up, it's called Reframe Your Brain. And the tagline is repair and replace the faulty wiring in your mind. So what we're going to be doing in this workshop, it'll be from 11 to 5, I think we said. And we're going to be talking, giving tools and information, and then throughout the day we'll be doing group hypnosis, and then we'll be having a process afterwards. Talk some more, group hypnosis, process. So if you have anything that is like a pattern and you keep getting stuck in whatever the thing is, this is your day. So just for you to know, we're only going to be having a certain amount of people in-house and it won't be online. So if you're interested, it's going to be on May 22nd. Actually, it's from 11 to 4. And we'll be serving lunch. And I think it's going to be a really powerful workshop. So mark your calendars. And if you're interested, contact us and let us know. And then the other thing that is coming up is going to be on... Nick says here, deep sleep. Yeah, one thing you won't be doing is sleeping on that day. So the other thing is on June 5th, and it'll be again from 11 to 4, and it's going to be a full day audience with Merlin and Golden Arrow. So Nick channels Merlin, and our dear friend Alexandra channels Golden Arrow, and it's going to be fantastic. When they come in, and you'll be able to ask questions, when they come in, it's like, it's that information from just a greater source. And as many of you know, when I'm having an issue, they are two of the first people or first entities, whatever, that I go to, because it really brings me back to a new perspective pretty quick, and I'm able to sort through the challenges in my mind and figure it all out. So again, they'll be on June 5th from 11 to 4. And Mr. Newmont is finally getting a little bit more open in his schedule, so Mainstream Metaphysics will be coming back online pretty soon, but not just yet, so not next week. So those are the announcements, and I'll be back here again on next Thursday. So that's all the announcements. Nice to have you guys join me. Today is, again, it's interactive. So if you have any questions as I'm sharing what I'm going to be sharing with you, let me know. Just type them in there, and I'm going to be paying attention. So with that being said, when I'm working with my clients, it's a process. And sometimes it takes a while to get to the stuff, but we always get to it. And as we're getting to it, people's lives get better and better. They keep leveling up and things get better. Hey, Jacqueline, nice to have you in here. So as my clients are working through these challenges that they have, it's always about their belief systems. And this is the notebook. I'm always writing on this side, and on this side, when they're talking about something, many times they will know, because I'll be like, that's a belief. And this is, you're in fight, flight, freeze. And we got to do the critical thinking. What's the critical thinking here? And here's the conscious thinking, where we're using that logic, reasoning, deduction. So I have clients that I've worked with for years. So they'll work for a while, they'll take a little bit of break, they'll see something that comes up that's a bit of something that they need to deal with, and we'll continue the process of working through it. And sometimes, because it's way down here in the belief systems, if I show them, if this was like an iceberg, the belief systems sometimes are not so much on the surface where we see them pretty quick. They're really down below. Like if this was an iceberg, they're way down at the foundation of the iceberg. And a lot of times it's things that relate to our worth, our value. It's things that relate to trauma that we have had as children. It can be any kind of trauma. But because it was traumatic way back when we were children, there's a part of us that just kind of shuts the door. If you're looking at the iceberg, it's like, it's way buried, like deep. So we're unaware that we're unaware of it. So it makes it really hard to see what the thing is. So I have a client that I've been working with for a while, and I've been watching this. It's a woman, and she's anonymous. And she gave me permission to use her story because this week she's had two sessions that were like, whoa, mind-blowing and life transformational. So I wanted to share a little bit of what this looks like, because we all go through the same thing. We've all got our unconscious stuff. We all do whatever those things are, those habits that we don't know why we do them, but we're doing them. And I don't think anybody skates on that. I mean, pretty much everybody has a little something that they do. And so this client and I, we were working through it this past week, and it was one of those, I mean, just like yay moments. And I wanted to share a little bit about what it looks like and how we got to it. So just to be clear, the challenge that they came in with, a lot of people have. A lot of people have. And the challenge is a need to control things, a need to control themselves to a point, need to control people around them, and, all that goes along with it. And to be fair, nothing wrong with it, nothing bad about it, but it makes it challenging for themselves to feel kind of what they would consider out of control, and it can be very challenging for the people that love them. So when we started looking at this is, mind you, a couple of years at least of working through stuff. So we both know that we're looking at this life that we've already worked through a whole bunch of things, and then there's that part of it's like, why does this thing keep sticking? Why do I feel like I need to do whatever the thing is? So as we're looking at it, I write down on paper, and I'm very messy with it, and I'm not going to show you what I wrote here because it's their business, but it's very interesting what people will do. So in the example of this one, this person wants to be able to be in the moment and just be like relaxed and it's all good. Like, for instance, there's this person, their spouse had been challenged with money and challenged with stuff, and there keep being this like roller coaster of a ride where it would be great and then things would dump. Things would be great and things would dump, which, by the way, I've gone through in my own life. So this woman is like, all right, I really want to be happy in the moment, but I'm afraid that it's going to go back to a dump. And so they want to be able to control their emotions around it, not get too excited about it, not be so, woohoo, this is awesome. It's like, all right, but, and there's that key word. So whenever you're doing this process for yourself, or you're working with somebody, you're paying attention to what is actually coming out of my mouth. What are those key words that I say? What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm doing? So in this particular situation, there kept being, well, yeah, that's all great and everything, but, and then another situation would come up and it's like, that's all great and everything, but when's the other shoe going to drop, or when is this going to not be? And so there's a fear of whatever happening with regard to the future. And so in the process of looking at all of this, it's like, all right, so you keep doing this. And she said, well, I want to be, she said in a basic way, she wanted to be in control. And she wanted to, you know, not put herself in a situation where she was going to be at a disadvantage or disappointed or whatever. And to be clear, there's a lot more that went on with this. I'm putting it into my little Audrey nutshell for you because I think that many, many people go through this. And I've seen with a lot of people that level of wanting to be in control. And so when we were looking at it, I play a game with people sometimes where I want to get to the root of what does control mean for you. And so I just put down that word, or I'll put down a sentence that they use, and then I want to get to what does control mean. And so for this person, I'm like, all right, what does control mean for you? And then comes the word stuck. All right, give me another word for control. Bound. Give me another word for control. No, for bound. Tied to something. And give me another word for strict. Rigid. Give me another word for control. Rules. Give me another word for control. And I can't even read my own handwriting. I don't even know what I wrote on that one. But the key one that really came up, and it was very interesting, safe. And what does safe mean? Comfort. What does safe mean? Love. So when I'm doing this, and interestingly enough, for me personally, as I'm doing this, at the end of her saying all those words, I literally had a moment where I just felt an overwhelm of energy, and it was almost like an emotional thing. And to be honest, I'm not even 100% sure what I said to her afterwards, because I think I had kind of stepped out a little bit, but what I said hit home because she could, for the first time, really understand the unconsciously unconscious why she would do what she did. This person grew up in a rather chaotic environment in her childhood, and there wasn't a lot of her being in control, and there was a lot of chaos around her. So when we have that kind of thing going on, it's a certain level of trauma. So when we have trauma, we go into more of an unconscious mode, and there's that part of it where it's like, I need to feel safe. How can I feel safe in the midst of all this trauma? So because she's such a little girl at that point, she's unconsciously taking on, here's what I can do to be safe. And here's what I can do to be in love. Here's what I can do to be comfortable. And all of it is an unconscious, well, I have to control things. I have to control myself. And so, long story short, for this particular person, and everybody's unique in all of this, everybody has their own way of coming to the answer and their own way of being with the process. But for this person, there was a moment where she understood, I get it. I don't need to do the things that she had been doing to be rigid, to be in control, to have that, yeah, you know what, I should be happy, but this was a moment where she was able to bring the unconscious to the surface so she could look at it with reason, with logic, and there wasn't that whole bunch of emotion that was tying it down, and she was able to see all of that. And so then we went into looking at what she was going to be doing from that point moving forward. I'm looking at a little bit of these notes. And so then comes the point where it's like, what does control mean? And then this is for this person in a lot of different areas of their body, or a lot of areas of their life, including their body. So then when we now have an awareness of it, it's like, what are the action steps that you get to take to now lock and load a new belief system, to lock and load a new way to be with yourself, to be in the habits of life in a way that is more affirmative and more in alignment with herself and everybody. So there was the point where now she gets to, and this is literally what I wrote down, she gets to choose to pay attention. Where is she in her feelings? Where is she in her thoughts? Where is she in her words? Is that but coming out of her mouth again? But, but what about? So she's able to look at all of those things and catch herself when she goes back into her unconscious behavior, into the old program, into the part of not feeling great, not being able to experience the woohoo. And then the next part of it is she is able to, in that paying attention, have a conversation with herself and look at all of this. And then do the process of the fear into power work that I've spoken about many times on here. When you're doing that fear into power work, there's that part of it where you're recognizing, I'm feeling. What are the feelings? So for her, she was feeling not great about certain things, and all of it came to her having to be so tightly in control and feeling rigid and needing to control things around her beyond what she was able to. So paying attention to the feelings, then you're writing on that fear side. Here's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling stressed, worried, angry, whatever those things are. Then you're doing that critical thinking investigation of what is this thing? And you're doing it with no judgment. You're just, what is this? What's going on here? And then the next part of it, really going into on the power side, allowing the woo-hoo, allowing that unfiltered, out of control sort of for her feeling of, yay, this is so exciting. This is really great. This is fantastic. Like all the different aspects of her life. And then looking at life in this moment. So instead of looking into the future and imagining what could possibly happen, there is that point of being in the moment now and really looking at it with appreciation. I think that is something that a lot of us forget to do. So really being in the moment with it and bringing it back to what you can know is true and holding that in your power. So I wanted to share that because I think when people go through the process of it and get on the other side, and I mean, it was like for her, I'm leaving a lot of details out, but for her, there was this like really great, amazing moment of, wow, I see that clearly now. And I think that in all that we do, that's one of the big things, is being able to step back and really know what you don't know about yourself. And Jennifer's saying something here, I see in the comments. She said, I freaked out when I thought I'd lose my own space after I just got it because one of the caregivers and her daughter are moving into our apartment. But I set a boundary that I get to keep my room, and I figured out a way to get some rent, but also help out all of us, and I stopped freaking out. Exactly. There's that part where you look at it and it's like, is this true? Am I going to be losing my space? Does that have to happen? No. What's another opportunity here? What's another option? What's another solution? A lot of the time when we have a moment where we feel like we're going to lose something, or things aren't going in the alignment with that we thought was going to happen. There's a part of it, it's like, I'm getting out of control again here. This is not what I wanted. I'm not in control of what I want. So when you do the process and you step back from the fear around it, you recognize it. I see what's going on here, and this doesn't have to be the outcome. What do I get to do in this moment? How can I change the outcome here? How can I look at it from a new vantage point? Or what you did there, literally set your boundaries and you got to keep your room. That's huge. And I know your story. It's really huge. So I want to go into a little bit more of these notes that I wrote, because when I was sitting out at the pool today, this comes to that conversation about control as well. And I was just telling my last client, I have this pool and it's got this huge oak tree and it's just glorious and it's beautiful, and now it's spring, so it's like this radiant green, and it's just a great place to sit and meditate. And I was meditating and I just started bringing in all of this kind of information of what I wanted to share with you. And before I start that, I wanted to read, so I've got this book and it's got little things that I put in along the way, and right next to the page I opened up to write on is this quote by Abraham through Esther Hicks. And it's kind of tired looking. I taped it into the book. And I highlighted this one part of it, but I wanted to read it for you. And it says, "You have sole ownership of your vision, and the universe will give you what you want within your vision. What happens with most people is that they muddy their vision with reality. Their vision becomes full of not only what they want, but what everybody else thinks about what they want too." Here's the highlighted part. "Your work is to clarify and purify your vision so that the vibration that you are offering can then be answered." So Abraham is channeled through Esther Hicks, and I'm telling you, they have been some of the best teaching that I have studied, and it was quite a few years ago that I was really into them. But it's super important when you understand that your heart literally connects with this infinite intelligence, the universe, whatever you want to call it. Your heart and your thinking are creative. So when you have a vision and you are lined up and you're excited about it and you're motivated and you're inspired, there's a part of it where the universe conspires with you to make that happen. But what I see with a lot of people, myself included, nothing wrong about it, we get this vision and then doubt creeps in. Can I have this vision happen? Or worry creeps in. What if I can't do something to make it happen? Or whatever those feelings are. So instead of going from here to pick up your vision, I always use this thing about the 101 freeway going from Los Angeles to San Francisco. I've got a great vision, or I've got a great partner, I've got a great job, I've got whatever the thing is, this great opportunity, this vision that I have to make it happen. People be driving along the freeway and they start worrying about whatever the thing is, and they've driven off of the freeway, and there you are, not in San Francisco. I like to say Bakersfield, but I think Bakersfield's probably getting over it by now. Also Lompoc. So it's kind of like you're going where you don't want to go, because again, the universe is conspiring with you. So where are your thoughts? Where is your attention? Is it on what you want, or is it on the problem? I see that a lot. So that's why I wanted to read that Abraham Hicks quote. But it also goes with what the topic of conversation is today. And it's back to that control thing. And while I was sitting out at the pool, I was looking at control And just the things that I see with people, not just my clients or myself or people around me, but people in the world. And then there is that part of when we want to be in control, but we're feeling out of control. And I literally made a control and then a slash organized. For me, if I really want to be in control in my life, there's a part of it where I get organized. So I have things in a way where it's like I know where things are, so things aren't so chaotic. And then when I'm looking at that word control, there's also this part of it where when people are feeling out of control, there is that chaos. There's uncertainty, there's fear, the emotions around it, fear, terror, and pain. And here's where I might not get so popular with this podcast, because I am going to bring up something that I think is important. And we haven't been talking about it a lot, I don't think. But I think it's important. Again, I'm going to say what I said a few weeks ago. We have to see what we don't want to see in order to be able to change it sometimes, a lot of the time. So when we're having this moment right now, and I think a lot of people are feeling out of control. They're feeling worried, they're feeling stressed. This part of, you know, what's going on in the moment. A lot of people have a tendency, I don't want to look at it, I don't want to see it. And I'm going to get into what that looks like right here. So this topic that I'm bringing up today, it comes into, I was looking at this idea of timelines. So many of you know that use my tools. The timeline tool is very, very, it's just like such a great tool, because when you're looking at your timeline, you're able to look at, this is what I've been doing, however that looks, and you're looking at it with no judgment. You're just looking at it and you're understanding, why would I do what I do? So in what I wanted to talk about today, it's about all of our timelines, because there is that timeline we use for ourselves individually. And then for all of us, we all have our timelines as an individual. And that's that part of where it's us, our family, our friends, our work associates, you know, people that we know in our inner circle. So we have timeline for us, and then all these people that we know in the timeline. And then we also have a timeline as a community. So you could say Newmont Center is a community. You could say Westlake Village or Agora Hills, we're a community. And so there's all these larger groups of people that are in the same environment and have the same rules, same regulations, same kind of timelines that we're on as a community. Then there is a timeline of our country. So as a country, we came into being a country at a certain point, and then in the timeline of who we have been as a country, there have been all of these moments of adjustments in the timeline. And literally, as we're looking at our timeline now, there's a part of it where our country is very, in my opinion, it's very divided. And it's almost like within our country, you can see, here's a timeline of people, and here's a timeline of people. And here's maybe another timeline of people. And I'm going to get into what that looks like. So even within our country, there's all of these different timelines that are going on. And stick with me on this one, because where I'm going to on the final part of it, I think you might find interesting. So then the other thing with our country is, I think we've become a little destabilized. So when we're looking at all the things that are going on, and financially, politically, environmentally, You know, all the systems that we have been in are literally not doing very well. There's a lot of challenges within our timeline on the different systems that we've got in place. We have a lot of people who are looking at even the educational system, and there's a lot of parents that are going, wait a minute, there's all these things that I'm looking at my timeline of what my kid has done compared to the timeline of how I went to school, and it seems like the educational system has shifted, and it's not like along the same kind of timeline that I grew up in. And I can see that. So for those of us that are in our 60s, 50s, maybe even 40s, it's like how it looked for us to be in school isn't the same kind of structure. It's not the same kind of education that our children are getting. So we see kind of a shift in the timeline, even with something like that. But we're definitely seeing a lot with the economical situation, you know, all of these things. I'm not saying that it's good or bad. It is just the moment that we're in. So when I'm bringing up the timelines, I want you to be clear. It's not to judge it, and it's not to say that it's right or wrong, good or bad, anything like that. It's to just be aware of what is going on. Because again, in order to see it, you have to, or in order to change it, you have to see it. You have to see what's going on. That brings me to the world, all these other countries, and what's going on in their timelines. And one thing that I'm noticing is how we're all getting information about what's going on in the timelines around the world. So there's, for us as, let's just say in the United States, there's all these avenues where people get information. So an example is mainstream news. Your CNNs, ABCs, CBS, whatever those news stations are, you're getting a certain amount of information on the news. And so I pay attention, and I know people who watch a lot of mainstream news, and one thing that I'm seeing is those people have a tendency to be sometimes a little bit more angry, a little bit more frustrated. A lot of times those news channels are having a fair amount of focus on fear, chaos, uncertainty. So you're not being in control. It's like all this stuff that's going around that we're in our own houses watching that news, we feel out of control. It's like I hear people telling all the time, oh my God, the world's going to hell in a handbasket or whatever. It's like people are really getting, you're paying $6 for gas or more. You're having all of this inflation with many things. And for somebody who's on a minimum wage or a very limited budget, it's like the prices are going up and they're kind of staying the same. And you're watching the news and you're seeing all of the new violence. You're seeing a lot of the chaos. I mean, let's just say that's what there is a lot of information about. Also, with a lot of the mainstream news, you're watching what they're showing about what's going on in the world. So that's the mainstream news. Then there are alternative forms of news, which I've already said before, I watch a lot of different forms of news. So I don't watch only this or that. I'll go and look at a lot of different things, and I don't believe all of it. I just watch it, and I look at what I can know to be true. And to be clear, as I'm watching those news, a lot of it, rather than being in fear, chaos, uncertainty, when I'm watching that, there's a lot of righteous anger. Now, there's a difference between victim anger and righteous anger. And as I'm watching these news channels, I see them getting angry, and it's righteous anger. And there is, and when I say righteous anger, it's that anger that it's like, we have to do this, we have to do whatever, and it's got action backing it. So victim anger is like, ugh, I'm furious, this is being done, and I have no power. righteous anger is, this is happening and I'm going to do something. Like, for instance, my last client that was in here, that person had a lot of great righteous anger where they are having people sign things and veto some of these bills that are going out that they don't agree with. That's righteous anger. It's like, good, have that happen. Do something that is constructive. So that's the emotion that I see with a lot of the alternative news. The other thing that I'm seeing with alternative news is a lot of constructive action, like I was just talking about. And then, believe it or not, in these news channels, I'm seeing prayer. I think prayer is great. I don't care how people pray. Prayer is prayer. And you're putting the highest and best forward. And so when I see them praying, it's like, I can get online with that. I don't think it's overly religious. I think it is coming from a place of gathering community and praying for divine right action to take place. So when I'm watching an alternative news channel and they throw prayer in it, I'm like, yes, yes, a lot of good news, interesting. I can see where some of that is happening. I can see affirmative action in my book. And then alternative news, I also am seeing a lot of people coming together in community. So there's a lot of coming together on solution-based solutions, constructive solutions. So I like that part as well. And then there is also a lot of constructive conversation. So here's what's happening. Here's what we do about it. Here's what's happening. Here's a solution. On alternative news, it's not just, this is horrible and it's all bad. It's, yeah, this is going on. The economy is incredible. And, inflation is going on. And here's what we can do about it. I like that kind of news. And hi, Brian. Good to have you on here. Brandon's in the house. Hi, Mr. Gagnon. Taking a little moment out of my rambling on to acknowledge you guys. Love you both, Brian and Brandon. I love how you all say hi to each other too. Brian could be saying hi to Nick too. All right, and then the other thing that I'm finding when people are doing what they're doing, there's people that watch mainstream news all the time. There's people that watch alternative news. And I know a lot of people personally that they're digging in. They're going and they're finding stuff. They want to know what is going on. So they're looking at a whole bunch of different options and they're, figuring out, it's like a big jigsaw puzzle. But then you have people that I call, they're checked out. And those people are just, I don't want to go there. I don't want to look at it. Hi, Cheryl. Good to see you too. So those people who I call they're checked out, I don't watch the news. I don't want to know. I don't look at anything political. I don't want to have anything to do with that. So they're literally unconsciously pushing it over here. And I say unconsciously because the feelings that I see from a lot of those people are feelings of inner fear, and they're going into distractions. So, and this is just, it's not everybody, but it's certain people that I've worked with and people that I've talked with. So when people have a tendency to push things aside, it's a form of suppression. And so it doesn't make it go away. It means I'm going to be unconsciously in fear. That's why I don't want to look at it. It makes me sad. It makes me angry. It makes me, afraid or whatever that thing is. So instead of dealing with the feeling around it, I just want to pretend it doesn't exist. But unfortunately, it is existing and they know it. So instead of getting rid of it, they're rolling in it. They're rolling in the loop. And I find from those people, they can be the ones that are having nightmares at night or not able to go to sleep, or they wake up and they're lying awake at night wondering, what is this thing? And to be clear, it's not everybody. Some people can suppress it and they'll hold those feelings down, and they'll just keep powering through life. It's an option. But I want to talk about the fourth one here. Well, I get it. So Jennifer says, I don't watch the news. It pisses me off because I feel they insult my intelligence. And you know what? That's an option too. But if you're not going to watch that news, to be clear, there's a lot of news out there that doesn't insult your intelligence. There's a lot of news out there where these are the things that are going on. And I'm talking about going on across the globe. And then Brian says the old network newscasts are done. They have no more market share. I don't doubt at all. So I want to just say the last one. The last one are the people who are checked out on purpose. And those are the people that say, I get it, that there's a lot going on. And those people are, they're the people that go on long camping trips. They're the people who are just, I'm going to be in the present moment right now. I'm going to be in my love. I'm going to have faith. And I'm just going to have compassion, and I'm going to know and trust that the timeline's going to be okay, that everything's going to be fine, everything's going to be good. And those are the people who literally will just meditate, and they'll be in just, how do I say this exactly? When I say checked out on purpose, I don't really mean like they're checked out. What I mean is they get it that things are going on. They get it that we're in a challenging moment, and they say, I don't need to watch the news or alternative news or anything like that to know that there's challenges going on. And I'm not going to be in the fear around it. I will be in my power around it. So if they have a moment where they go into fear, they bring themselves back over to what they can know is true. And they'll be grounded and centered and present in their lives in the moment. And they'll keep having faith and trust that divine right action is happening. And the reason why I bring this up is I'm a combination person. I do watch alternative news, and I do that part. And I think that for me, that's a good place to be. I don't think it's everybody's choice. I don't think everybody has to watch all this alternative news, but you do have to have an awareness of what could be coming down the line. So there is that part of it when you are choosing to be, I don't want to watch the news or anything. There's that part where you do want to be in control of your moment and the possible future. So for those of us that choose, that's that point where you look at and say, if anything were to happen, not that it would, if it were to happen, am I prepared? That goes back to this part about being in control and being organized. I don't know what the future holds, but what I know is if there is a moment, because I'm looking at the various things that are going on where the food supply could get a little short for a small period of time. I have canned goods. I've got things, I've planted things. I've got what I need to sustain myself and my family. So it takes out that unconscious fear and it brings it back to, I have that prepared. I have that organized. So there's a part of it where you want to sit back with yourself and look at, where am I with everything? Am I watching the news and being angry or in fear? Am I watching alternative news and really holding it all in the highest? Am I one of those people that's checked out and in fear? Not a problem with it. But then I just missed myself over there. I'm back. So there's all of it that you want to look at and acknowledge where you're at in the present moment and where you're choosing to go for the future, because it eliminates all of the hard feelings around it. Sorry, I'm seeing this text up there. So there's that part of it where you want to be with yourself and understand if those hard feelings do come up, you get to look at them and work through it and find, like my client did, you know, what are the things that I now get to do to be in my highest and best feelings. Like for her, there was a strong feeling of wanting to be in woo-hoo. Hey, Sherry King, nice to have you here too. So the other part of it, and this might be the most challenging thing that I get into, but I think it's important and I think it needs to be said. There's a lot in the timeline of the world. So as we're talking about individual timeline, community timeline, country timeline, there's that timeline of the world. And there's that part of it where we're here, and if we're watching just one source of news, you're going to see one part of the world, and there's going to be this incredible focus on it. And why it's important to look at news where you're going to see what's going on around the world in a different way is because there's things that are happening in China that are just unbelievable. There's things that are happening in El Salvador, in Australia, in Canada. And for a lot of these countries, it's about their rights. It's about their freedom to be in control of their own lives. It's about their freedom to be sustaining their own life. And we have here in the United States, I have it right here in handy, our Constitution. And we have all of these freedoms, which helps us to be in control. And when you're looking at what is happening, if you're not watching certain news, it's okay, it's all good, but it's getting to be very apparent to a lot of people that our freedoms are being taken away, slowly but surely. And when I look at what happens in some of these other countries, those people probably never thought that they would be in the situation that they're in. So there is that part of it where if you're in the moment now, and there is that part of you that is checked out because you can't go there, I want you to be clear, you could go there if you were to use anger in a propelling sort of way, righteous anger in a propelling sort of way. You don't have to get into the nitty-gritty of all the details, but there is a part of it where I think is important for us to get. Things that happen in the world, we're all connected. And those people never thought their rights would be taken away like they were in some of these places that I've talked about. So when we come together as a community and we're able to see these things with compassion and understanding, and understand that this is a moment in time, it's like there's hitting this tipping point. And for those of you that look at alternative news, I know you're on here, I know who you are. You see that tipping point happening. But in order for the tipping point to really tip, some of these people who are not looking at all the details, they can't be tipping with us. So there's a part of it where I invite you to be more informed, to be more aware. Look at a lot of different kinds of news. Be open to what they're saying on there. There's this thing that they've been putting out there. It's called a conspiracy theory. Like when this thing first happened, it's like, oh, all of this is a conspiracy theory. Much of it has now been proven true. It's not so conspiracy theory anymore. So when we're in this moment now where there is all of this that's kind of reaching a crescendo, if you want to put it at that, or a tipping point, it's really important for all of us to be on board so that we can tip it in the direction of the best and highest happening for all of humanity. For the things that have been slowly but surely taking away our freedoms to be acknowledged, to be addressed. There's this little group of people that control our freedoms, that control the laws, that control things. And then there's all of these people, all of us, that when we come together as a community, we can hit that tipping point and tip it in our favor because we're aware, because we're doing constructive action, constructive communication. We are literally moving things in the direction of what we want, what we have as our right to have control over. So it's super important to really see these things clearly and make that choice. Because I'm telling you, if you've seen some of the videos that I've seen of what's happening in China, I don't know that people are watching that on the mainstream news, but it is extraordinarily disturbing. And Jennifer is saying, we have to fight for our freedoms of speech and freedom to vote and have a say. Right, right. The amount of censorship, if you're not aware, you're not aware, but the amount of censorship alone, that's in the Constitution, our right to express ourselves. It's getting to the point where if you're saying something that goes against the agenda, literally you can be labeled as a terrorist. Me having this little conversation here is getting close to me looking like that. I'm nowhere close to being that. That's not who I am. I'm nowhere close. But that's where things are looking. So it's super important to get. This is a choice point for all of us in our timeline. All of us. And if there is this part of it where you think that the agenda where it's going now is something that is working for you, be clear. It may be working for you at the moment. It may not be working for you soon. And it is not working for a lot of people. So it's an important time to step back and be introspective and to literally look at, why do I do what I do? Why do I look at what I look at? What is going on in my timeline? And how do I choose to move forward with it? Brian says CNN can't even get 10,000 subscribers on streaming service. Yeah, because you know what? CNN, this goes back to, and I was looking this up earlier, and I don't know exactly how they worded it, but there was a law, the Smith-Mundt Act, and it got changed so that the media doesn't have to tell the truth, and they can skirt the issue, and they can show things that are literally not happening. It is what it is, no judgment on it, but I used to watch it all the time until I started realizing, wait, there's something wrong here. And so I stepped back from looking at CNN and I spent my time looking at a lot of different sources of news. And then I started realizing somebody ain't telling the truth. Somebody's lying. And I look at where I look. I believe what I can know to be true. A lot of it, I don't know if it's true. But what I can do is focus on the timeline. The timeline, I was just doing this with my client. There's a timeline for all of us where divine right action's taking place, where the best and highest is happening for humanity, where there is an abundance for all people, not just these people and this little trickling down. There is a timeline where there is an explosion of money for all people. I see it. There's information out about it. So there is a timeline where we are living a much, much kinder life, a much more abundant life for everybody. And I mean everybody across the globe. So there's no reason why we would have anybody that would be starving. If there is land, if there are levels of food that can be grown, there should be no reason. So when I'm looking at a timeline, I'm looking at everybody's getting fed. Everybody's having their needs met. There is this switch into what Nick and I had been talking about with astrology, into an age of humanitarianism, where people are supporting each other and we are doing the best and highest for humanity. And Brandon is saying, oh, Hunger Games, you know what, I see, I hear it. I'm not going to go into Hunger Games. Brandon is saying, oh, Brandon, you're in here. I missed you. The world we're going to be entering will be glorious. Abundance, peaceful, incredible technology. Absolutely with the incredible technology. Cured disease, a world like Tomorrowland. I like that. And even Brian is saying, yes, Brandon is correct. So they know what I know. And they've been looking at some of the same news that I have been looking at. So there are all these things that are in place. And again, I think we have to reach that tipping point where we all get on board with this future that we're imagining. That future where there's already these things in place. Brandon says, I want my keeps this damn jetpack already. Some tribulations first, however. Yes, Brian, that's for sure. You know, there's this woman that I watched kind of towards the beginning of all this. Her name is, oh my, I'm having one of those moments. I don't remember her moment, but this woman was literally on the inside of all of this stuff. And she was kind of in the inside of government and things like that. She was brainwashed. She was a part of MK Ultra mind treatment. And she tells a really compelling story. If any of you can remember her name, let me know. But she was rescued from this. And she, in this talk that she gave, and it was back in the 70s, in the talk that she gave, she said, it was really interesting for me because I knew what I knew of technology. And she saw like everything. And she said when she got her mind back and she went out into society, Kathy O'Brien is her name, just remembered it, Kathy O'Brien, The Transformation of Something is a book that she wrote. At any rate, one of the key things that she said that I thought was so important is she said that when she got her mind back and she was able to be part of society, it was very strange for her because the technology that she was witnessing, that we witness, was 20 years behind what she knew of technology. And this was back in the 70s, I believe. So here we are at 2022. And to be clear, what we know of technology, what we see is like this. And what technology is like this. So there's a whole bunch of things that are, I think, going to be coming out in the near future that are going to be amazing for people with technology. And the other thing, I just saw Brian, there's another thing that I want to talk about, and Brian, thank you for bringing it up. It's XLM and XRP. One of my dear friends has been telling me for months, oh my God, you have to get XRP. Really, get XRP. And I've been, Nick, call her. We got to figure out what this XRP stuff is. So we finally figured it out. And for those of you that know what Bitcoin is, Bitcoin, when people first got into Bitcoin, a lot of people were making a lot of money. And unfortunately, Bitcoin was also part of the nefarious business, and people were able to go into the black web, whatever that is, and they were able to use their Bitcoins. I've talked about this before, and they would be able to buy things that are not legal, pretty disgusting, with their Bitcoins. They're anonymous. So XRP, there is a moment where we are switching from a SWIFT fiat financial system into a quantum financial system. So literally, from what I'm understanding, there's a lot that is switching over with finances, literally as we speak. So when we are switching into this new financial system, instead of it being this fiat system that is not bound by anything, they just keep making money, shipping billions of dollars here and there, and then having it kick back to them. All this money, there's nothing under it. There's no foundation to it. So from what I'm understanding, there is a possibility that's coming to a screeching halt. And there is this new quantum financial system that is being in place, and there is going to be, instead of like a Bitcoin kind of thing, and this is my simple, easy Audrey language, it's actually much more complicated than what I'm saying, but XRP will be like a Bitcoin, or they're more like the bank, and it's based by gold. And then XLM is like the money, and it's based by silver. So instead of it just being like what we're in the middle of with all this inflation, it's part of the reason for the inflation, it's going to be a much more unified currency. So that is in the process. So for those that are interested, XRP, you can buy it pretty cheap at this point. Same with XLM. And as this is moving into this new system, those things are supposedly going to go. So with anything that you invest in, invest what you wouldn't mind if, heaven forbid, it would disappear. So with that being said, I still have a little bit more time. I want to get into this other thing. Oh my gosh, my clock over there is slow because I'm looking here and it says 8:03. This other thing I want to talk with you about, I'll just tell you, I'll talk about it next week, or you can call me. But Nick and I invested about 10 months ago. We invested $1,000, and we've already taken out $4,300 at one point, and now we're taking out another $5,300. So off of our $1,000 investment, we've already cleared like $9,000, and we have like $40,000 in that account. So there's all these opportunities to make money that are unique to this time. So again, information equals power. Information about yourself, information about your finances, information about your health is empowerment. So look into that. And if you want more information on this, I can give you more information. And just real quick, before I let you guys go, I'll see if there's any questions. This light is that leather blinding. Let me see what it says here. Oh yeah, you're talking about the tribulations. You know what? There's some information that's coming out that's going to be real interesting. And that thing with Stu Peters, I'm just saying, that was like a mind blower. Brian, we got to talk. Actually, Brandon, you know what? For those that are interested, you guys reach out to me. If anybody's interested, I'll create a Zoom group for the people that want to discuss those kind of things, and have it be in person or via Zoom. So if you guys want to have a moment where we're all talking about that kind of stuff and we're just sharing that kind of information, I'll create that. Just contact me and let me know. And yeah, down with the central bankers. Russia, India, China are already using it for all the extra nation transaction. Yeah, you know what? Yep. There's a whole bunch of things that are already in action. Yeah, I think silver is going to skyrocket. I think that there's so much that is happening right now, and I think it's really important for us to continue to stay together as a community and continue to focus on our best and highest happening. And I'm telling you, I was just watching with my granddaughter that movie Nemo, where all the fish are in the net and they don't want to get rolled up into it. They don't want to get up on the surface and die. So they're literally joining together as a team in that net. And they're like, go, 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 keep pushing, make it happen, make it happen. And they break the net and they all go free. That's where we're at right now. I was watching that movie going, oh, there we are. It's also like the analogy of the frogs in the pot. The water's really hot. It's really hot. So we all have to really do all of the things that I've been saying. Hold it in your prayers. Meditate. Really be grounded and centered and focused. The fear comes up, deal with it. Don't live in it. Learn from it. Continue to be over here in your power. Hit that tipping point. Okay? Supersonic travel is one thing I can't work. Oh, yes. So you can get your butt over here and visit with us, Brandon. Got both of you Brandons here tonight. So I have run past our time. Thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it. And again, I'll be here next week. I think I'll be here next week. My girlfriend's coming to visit. Maybe she'll join me. Miss Robin might join me. Robin's coming from Florida to visit me. Oh, wait, it's not next week. It's the week after. I'll be here next week, and I might have a guest. I have somebody in mind that I think would be amazing. You have a good night too, Kimberly. You and Kirby, thanks so much. You guys, just knowing you're on the other side of the screen makes this really much easier for me to do. So thank you. Thank you for your support. And Jennifer and all of you guys that are here with me here tonight. So thank you very much. I love you all so much. And feel free to share this if you would like. And I will be seeing you soon. Love you. Bye.